Coach, looking at your wide receiver rotation, does the term embarrassment of riches come to mind?
Well, I don't know if it applies. That's for sure. But we return some guys that's played a lot of ball as far as last year. You got Debo, Sam, and he's played a bunch of ball, played and ended up playing really good for us late last year. And Bryan had a really good freshman year. Now, both of those guys are still kind of young when it comes to things. When you look how much they played before last season, obviously it's not a whole lot. So they still have to make sure we do a good job of growing still. We don't have a lot of practice left, and we start off with an opponent, quite frankly, that's going to be one of the better ones that we play. So we still got a long way to go. But we do have some young talented guys that have a steep learning curve. It's just really, really short.
With Debo and having those hamstring issues throughout high school and last year,
right,
how do you try to keep him healthy? I mean,
first you got to knock on wood and not ask about it. You know what I mean? But I'll say this, you do have to take preventative cautions, you know what I mean? So he's one of those guys that we actually do hydration tests now. He's one that's constantly on that. Obviously you got to make sure that you watch him during certain times when he hits certain yardage milestones in practice and things of that nature. But the other thing is just making sure we're doing everything we can do off the field, like eating right, you know what I mean, getting the right amount of rest, things like that. And so I think that's the biggest step that he's taken forward to better himself in that area so far.
What's your favorite thing that he can do?
Say this, he's a really good football player that plays wide receiver, if that makes any sense. So he's not like just a wide receiver out there. He doesn't mind the contact. He doesn't mind getting in there and blocking, and just how much he loves the game of football. That's probably my favorite thing about him.
What has Ortre shown in thus far in fall camp,
right,
and what kind of steps has he taken since the spring?
One, I think he had that injury when he first came here in the spring, so that kind of had him gimped up a little bit last spring. So this fall camp, the one thing I've been real impressed with him is just knowing what to do. I think him being here for so long, it has helped him. But that's the biggest thing that slows young guys down is knowing what to do. And then, once we do that, we can figure out exactly how to do it. So him knowing and learning what to do has probably been the biggest thing that's impressed me about him so far.
We've heard a lot about Shy and his speed. What do you think of him so
I
far?
think he has a lot of ability. But he's still one of those young players that is unfortunately, man. Freshmen make freshman mistakes at times. So, and a lot of that stuff just comes with reps. So we just got to make sure that we do a good job of getting them work and getting them caught up exactly how we need things done. But he's a talent. He's a talented young guy.
Where would be the ideal place to put him? In the slot aside, Debo, or on the opposite side?
Well, I think the best guys can be multiple. They can be moved around and not so much just locked into one spot in particular. So right now that's the goal, and trying to kind of grow some of those guys to try to learn 2 or 3 different places. So it's hard to say, hey, this guy's always right here, and that way people can take them out of the game if they choose to, or if they game plan certain things to do that. So right now just trying to learn, trying to make him learn a couple of different spots.
How many receivers do you want to have for each game? 6, 8?
Around 6 to 7 in a perfect world, 6 to 7. Because that room you pull a lot to actually play special teams and stuff like that. So you want to have 6 to 7.
How do you balance that between all the tight ends that you guys have at your disposal?
Sure. I think you got to do a good job of game planning and knowing exactly where you want guys and know what guys, what matchups you might want to take advantage of. So a lot of it going into each week is just, predicated on where I think the game plan takes it a little bit.
How diverse do you expect the offense to be in terms of 3, 4 wide receivers, 2 tight end sets, that sort of thing?
Well, I think, any dangerous offense, man, has speed on the field, So I think any way to kind of to maximize that, I think that's the way you do that. Now, we got tight ends that can do that as well. So, that's the biggest thing. It's just, like I said, just trying to kind of find it in the game plan on where we're going to do what and go from there.
Did Ortre have to change his body at all coming off the layoff from the injury, and where is his kind of athleticism right now?
It's a lot better. He's moving a lot better. Now, as far as changing his body-wise, Ortre is going to naturally be a big-bodied kid. And so the biggest thing is just making sure we're doing a great job of nutrition and making sure, that 225 pounds or 20 pounds doesn't turn into 240, you know what I mean? And so some of that is genetics, but the other thing is, what we can help, we want to do that. So we're now we can keep our mobility and be able to move and get in and out of breaks and do everything that we need to do to be a good wide receiver.
What can Terry Cougar do for this team?
Terry, man, he's a guy that's very, very smart. He learns it very well. So he's a guy that you can put in there and play at a number of different positions and go out there and not have to curtail your offense and say, okay, he's in the game. What don't we want to run? He's a guy that can go in there and you could just let it go. And so that's one thing right now that has really, really, really pleased me about him.
Do you think it's been kind of frustrating for him being here a while and Debo's the hands guy, Bryan Edwards is the deep threat, and nobody really talks about him first off?
Well, I really don't know much about that, but the bottom line is he has to do a good job of taking advantage of the opportunities that he's given, just like the rest of those other guys.
How much did y'all talk with O'Shea through the recruiting process about, hey, we're going to try to keep you at receiver, but genetics could take over at some point?
Well, no, I mean, right now his future's at wide receiver, so that's kind of all we've ever talked to him about.
Yeah, just because, like you were saying,
sure,
naturally big body.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, there was a guy here named Alshon Jeffers. He ended up about 235 too. He was a pretty good guy. You know what I'm saying? Now he ended up trimming back down, but sometimes those big body guys are not bad. I tell you, the thing when you look at wide receivers, you want to do a great job of having guys that can make contested catches. So I can make catches when I'm covered. So that's why you like the longer guys. Guys look for length. Guys look for ball skills where people can naturally catch it with his hands, and he has some of that stuff.
Is it almost one of those things like sometimes positions are just kind of things on paper? Because you put Casey Crosby in the slot last year,
sure.
But you could do the same thing with him or Shy or whoever else.
Sure. There's no doubt. Like I said, the biggest thing is making sure we take advantage of the talent that we got. And so I think the best offenses do that. The best offense is not necessarily say, all right, this is drop dead what we do year in and year out. The best offense is look at what they have and then say, okay, how can we put our best pieces out there to give us the best chance to win? And so that's what we're doing last year. We're gonna do the same thing this year as far as now we got a couple new pieces. So now we just got to evaluate and make sure that we're putting that stuff on the field, because that ultimately gives us the best chance to win a game.
With the guys you have, can you kind of afford to bring Chad Terrell along a little bit more slowly?
Oh no, I mean I'll tell you this, going and where we are mentally right now, I'm getting all those guys ready to play. So, those guys, right now we're not even talking about red shirt, and we're getting everybody ready to play. And then, when it gets a little bit closer to that, that's when I'm sure some decisions will be made. But there is we want to bring a guy along a little bit slowly and things like that. We want to get guys ready to play and get guys in there competing and having guys fight for playing time and fight for starting jobs.
Well, what has Chad kind of shown you through?
Tell you what, man, the last 3 days he's been a lot better. He's a really sharp kid. Kind of overanalyzes stuff, because he's so intellectual about everything. And, some of that stuff you just got to go out there and get to it. And so at first he was playing slow, and then he's kind of started to crank it up a little bit more and playing at the tempo that we need him to play at. Now he's still not there, but he's gotten a lot better.
Is that sometimes a natural learning curve for freshmen coming in?
Absolutely. That's definitely something naturally that happens, and some guys struggle with that a little bit more than others. But he's had a good past few days, so we need to keep that going in the right direction.
Mainly just two wide receivers on the field for you guys at all times last year. Is that frustrating for you as a position coach? And how hard do you lobby this year to get more guys out there?
Well, those guys have to earn it. They got to earn it. Just like I tell them, just like they're competing with guys in our receiver room for playing time, they're competing with guys in other personnel groups as well. So when we're going out there to practice, the better more guys in our room do, then the more likely that they get the opportunities to go out there and do them. And so if tight ends do better, then they get it and they earn it. And I have no problem with that. Because ultimately, like I said, that gives us the best chance to be successful. So that's what I'm for, first and foremost.
Do you have any guys working on special teams in the return game?
Well, all of them are working on special teams, So the return, and as far as returners, Shy's the only one in our room that's back there catching punch right now. But we got a couple more guys back there doing it. But as far as returning, then Debo and Bryan have both been working back there as kick returners amongst other guys there too. So as far as receivers though, that's some of the stuff that's been rotating there.
Do you expect Shy to be able to win that punt return job?
I don't know. It's still a long way to go.
With the true freshmen you had to throw into the fire last year, can you see them kind of having taken that experience and sort of put it to pretty good use?
I think absolutely. Anytime guys have the opportunity to go through a process and know the importance of preparation, then that's where you see guys get better. And those guys, had to play last year. They saw the importance of how important it was to go out there and prepare every day in order to get the end result on Saturday. And so they take that approach going into each day, knowing that it's a preparation for games, not so just something to try to get through or just something to try to survive through. It's a purpose to every day, and so that's what's helped those guys the most.
So they kind of get thrown in, and they sort of leave going, I now know what I need to do even more vividly.
Well, not so much. It's just it's just like anything else. If they do it good in the game, they probably have done it well in practice that week. So it's no mistake. So guys just don't screw it up all that week and then get it right in the game. And so that's what they've seen. They've seen the importance of doing it right in practice. They know when we get to the game, there's no mistake that it's going to get done right then. And so that's what those guys who've had to play last year, they've got a chance to see.
Do you expect to take more deep shots this year?
I think that's all predicated on a lot of different things. I mean, I do think it's definitely needed in order to throw the ball downfield, but I think it's just going to be a mixture of all of it, to be honest with you.
Beyond the obvious value of hitting those deep shots, what's the value of taking them?
The value of taking deep shots, one, it gets the defensive guys backed up. I tell people all the time, the DBs fear one thing. At the end of the day, they fear one thing, that's getting run by. I say it all the time. My grandma doesn't know a ton about football, but she knows when a number 8 out there gets run by for a touchdown. So the bottom line is, I think it puts the fear in that hey man, we're still going to go back there and still be aggressive and make you guard the deep ball.
Which opens up other things for your receivers and your running.
Absolutely. Which opens up to everything else. Which opens up a lot of the other stuff too. Absolutely.
It looked like Drake Davis is back out there running around. Has he been able to sort of hit the ground running, or is he a little bit behind from missing time?
I tell you what, man, he's done a great job of staying locked in, and so he's approached it the right way, and hopefully, man, he can be able to go get thrown in that mix and go from there.